Before we step into our time machine, let's set the stage. Picture this. It's the 16th century. The Renaissance is in full swing. Ideas, art, and scandal are spreading like wildfire. In the heart of this whirlwind stands a woman of power, cunning, and controversy, Catherine de Medici. But who exactly was she? Why does her story still captivate us centuries later? Well, that's the tea we're about to spill. So, buckle up, history buffs, because we're about to brew some seriously hot historical gossip. Welcome back to The Gossip Historian, where we spill tea like it's 1773. Let's dive in. Ever wondered how a queen could be scandalous, manipulative, and downright dangerous? Well, allow me to introduce Catherine de Medici. This was a woman who didn't just break the mold, she smashed it, ground it into dust, and then probably poisoned it for good measure. This is no ordinary history lesson. We're diving into the juicy, scandalous, and somewhat terrifying life of the infamous French queen. So ready your tea and your skepticism, because you're in for some royal drama. Buckle up, folks. This is one wild ride through the French Renaissance. Born into the wealthy Medici family, Catherine was no stranger to power and intrigue. Now, when you're born with a silver spoon, you'd expect life to be all roses, right? But for our dear Catherine, it was more like a thorny rosebush. Catherine's early years were spent enjoying the comforts of the Medici palace, surrounded by wealth and luxury. But, as they say, all good things must come to an end. Both her parents passed away under mysterious circumstances when she was just an infant. Spooky, right? But wait, it gets even better. After the sudden demise of her parents, Catherine found herself under the care of nuns. Talk about a drastic change in scenery. From the riches of the Medici palace to the austerity of a convent, Catherine's life was like a soap opera in the making. But let's not forget, she was a Medici. Even in the convent, she was groomed for politics. The nuns, rather than teaching her about the virtues of humility and modesty, focused on the ins and outs of political alliances. Just your typical nun stuff. And it seems their teachings paid off, because Catherine was soon to be married off to a real catch, King Henry II. But it was her marriage to King Henry II that really kicked off her scandalous career. Once queen, Catherine really started to show her true colors. Now, imagine the royal court as a chessboard. Catherine de Medici was the queen piece, darting around with a level of unpredictability and power that left everyone else on their toes. Let's dive into her manipulation of court politics. Catherine was like the puppet master behind the scenes, pulling strings and making moves that would make a modern-day spin doctor green with envy. She was a queen, yes, but she was also a strategist, a tactician, a master of the political game. Her ability to control the court was uncanny, almost as if she had a sixth sense. Or perhaps, a helpful astrologer in her back pocket. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the rumors of Catherine's affairs. The whispers of her infidelity echoed through the stone corridors of the palace, adding a dash of scandal to her already colorful reign. Were these rumors true? We can't say for certain, but we do know that Catherine wasn't one to let societal norms dictate her actions. And then, of course, there's the poison. Catherine's love for the deadly concoction was well known. It was said that she had a whole collection of poison rings, each one more intricate than the last. Just in case she needed to off someone during a boring dinner party. Was she actually responsible for any poison-induced deaths? The jury's still out on that one. But one thing's for sure, if you were invited to a feast at Catherine's palace, you'd better have a food taster on standby. And let's not forget her belief in astrology. Catherine was a firm believer in the stars and their power. She consulted astrologers before making any major decisions, and she was even said to have predicted the death of her husband, King Henry II. But hold on, the scandals don't stop there. Did you know our dear queen was also a fan of the dark arts? Oh yes, Catherine de Medici was not just a queen, but she also fancied herself a bit of a sorceress. Now, I'm not talking about the wave a wand, cast a spell kind of sorcery. No, our Catherine was into the real deal. Astrology, prophecies, and the occasional black mass, if the rumors are to be believed. Let's start with astrology. Catherine was a big believer in the stars and their influence on our lives. She was the classic check your horoscope every morning kind of gal. And it wasn't just her own star sign she was interested in. She had the birth charts of her children and courtiers drawn up, probably to see who was going to cross her next. Not a bad strategy when you're dealing with the cutthroat world of French court, right? But her love for the stars didn't stop at astrology. She also had a thing for prophecies, and who better to consult than the famous seer Nostradamus? Yes, Catherine had private consultations with the man himself. Imagine that, having Nostradamus on speed dial. Now, let's talk about the infamous Black Mass rumors. Word on the street was that Catherine was conducting these dark rituals to secure her power. And the rumors were pretty wild. Think sacrificing black roosters at midnight and bathing in the blood of virgins. I mean, who hasn't had a crazy Saturday night, right? But let's not judge Catherine too harshly. In those days, a woman in power needed all the help she could get, even if it was from the stars, a famous seer, or a black rooster. And while we can't confirm whether Catherine was really a witch, we can certainly say she was one hell of a queen, so she dabbled in a bit of magic. Who doesn't, right? Despite her scandalous life, Catherine left quite a legacy behind. Now here's the plot twist, folks. Despite her penchant for poison, astrology, and witchy shenanigans, Catherine de Medici was more than just a scandal-ridden queen. She was a force to be reckoned with, a power player of the 16th century. Let's start with the basics. She was the Queen of France, married to Henry II. After his untimely demise, which no, she didn't cause, shocker, I know, she ruled as regent for her 3 sons who each took turns on the throne. You could say she was a bit of a stage mother, but with more power and less singing. Her reign was marked by religious wars between Catholics and Protestants, which sounds like a cheery time, right? Well, hold on to your crowns because Catherine was right in the thick of it. She initially tried to broker peace, but when that didn't work out, she was like, fine, let's do this the hard way. And by hard way, I mean brutal massacres and political maneuvering. But hey, let's not forget her impact on French culture. She brought Italian culture to the French court, including ballet. And let me tell you, those French courtiers had never seen anything like it. It was like bringing breakdancing to a waltz party. She also introduced the fork to France. Imagine, before Catherine, the French were just stabbing their food with knives like barbarians. And let's not forget her architectural legacy. She commissioned and built some of the most iconic buildings in France, like the Tuileries Palace. So next time you're strolling around Paris admiring the scenery, you might just have Catherine to thank. So, there you have it. Catherine de Medici, queen, mother, poison enthusiast, witchcraft dabbler, and cultural revolutionary. She was a woman of many hats, and sure, some of them might have been pointy and covered in stars, but she wore them all with style. Scandalous, sure, but boring? Never. So, what have we learned about Catherine de Medici, folks? Well, first off, it seems like our dear Catherine was a regular Renaissance Kardashian. Born into the lap of luxury, she had all the makings of a juicy reality show. We've got the early life filled with drama, orphaned at infancy, shuffled around relatives like a hot potato, and then married off to a man who was more interested in his mistress than his wife. Talk about a soap opera. And then she ascended the throne. And boy, did the scandals multiply. She had a knack for stirring the pot, didn't she? Affairs, assassinations, religious wars. She ticked all the boxes. I mean, most of us struggle with managing a grocery list, but here's Catherine, juggling political intrigue, extramarital affairs, and nationwide conflict like it's a walk in the park. Oh, and let's not forget her penchant for the supernatural, dabbling in witchcraft, reading horoscopes, and brewing potions. Sounds like a Renaissance version of a Harry Potter villain, doesn't she? One can only imagine the Hogwarts house sorting hats, stuttering, Slytherin? No, wait, Hufflepuff? No, definitely Slytherin. But all jokes aside, Catherine did leave a legacy. Sure, it was filled with bloodshed, treachery, and superstition, but she was a woman of power in a time when women were barely considered human. She ruled with an iron fist, and whether you love her or hate her, you can't deny that she made her mark. So, in a nutshell, Catherine de Medici was a scandal-ridden queen, a part-time witch, and a full-time drama queen. She had a penchant for poisoning people and a deep belief in the stars. She was a woman who played the Game of Thrones before it was cool, and left a legacy that would make George R. Martin blush. And there you have it, Catherine de Medici, queen, witch, and all-around bad girl. Who knew history could be so scandalous? All right, folks, that's a wrap on our historical deep dive into the life of Catherine de Medici, our Renaissance Kardashian, our queen of scandals, our Harry Potter villain, our game changer. Was she a villain, a victim, or simply a woman of her time? That's for you to decide. But one thing's for sure, she brewed a potent cup of history, and we've enjoyed sipping it with you. Thanks for joining us on this journey back in time. If you've enjoyed this scandalous trip down memory lane, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. After all, history is full of scandalous, intriguing, and downright fascinating figures, and we can't wait to spill the tea on them. So, until next time, stay curious, stay scandalous, and remember, history is always brewing.